Alrighty. Today we are going to be reviewing quadratic functions, either factoring them or multiplying out two binomials in order to get a quadratic function. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to remind ourselves, is to factor these quadratic expressions. Okay, so when factoring, we have three terms here. The first question we always want to ask ourselves is, do they have something in common? Well, r squared, negative 12r, and 35 don't have any terms or common factors, so I'm going to have to play what I like to call the number game. Okay, so the number game goes, we look at our C, right? Standard form A, B, C. So we're looking at our C and we ask ourselves, what two numbers are going to multiply to give me a positive 35? What are going to add to give me negative 12? Okay, well, I can just try a few things. The first thing off the top of my head for 35 would be 5 and 7. Okay, well, 5 times 7 gives me 35. 5 plus 7 gives me a positive 12, but in this case, we're actually looking for a negative 12. So we don't want positive 12. Okay, well, I know that a negative, so negative 5 and negative 7 will still give me a positive when multiplied. Okay, and negative 5 minus 7 more will give me that negative 12 that I'm looking for. So I found my two factors, negative 5 and negative 7. Now I just need to write it in factored form. In this case, my variable is r, so I like to give myself two sets of parentheses, my variable in front. Okay, I have a negative 5, so minus 5, and a negative 7, so negative 7. And there we go, we are factored. Okay, so let's do the same thing for number 2. Let's play the number game. Okay, so what two numbers are going to multiply to give me a negative 20 when added together to give me a negative 1? That coefficient for my middle term is negative 1. Okay, well, 20, I could try maybe 2 and negative 10. Okay, well, when added together, that's going to give me a negative 8, which is not what we're looking for. Okay, well, let's try maybe 5 and negative 4. 5 times negative 4 will give me negative 20. Added together, that'll give me a positive 1. Close, but still not what we're looking for. So let's try switching those signs. Let's do negative 5, positive 4. Now when added together, they give me that negative 1 that I'm looking for. Okay, so now I can do my two sets of parentheses. Variable in front, this time it's x. I have a negative 5, so x minus 5. A positive 4, so x plus 4. And there we go. Okay, number 3, play the number game. What two numbers multiplied give me a positive 12, but are going to add to positive 7? Okay, well, 12, I can try 6 times 2. Added together, that gives me positive 8, not what we're looking for. Maybe 3 times 4. Okay, add that together, positive 7. That is what we're looking for. Okay, so there are my two terms. Write out your two sets of parentheses. Put your variable in front. This time it's a. Positive 3 is one of my factors, and positive 4. Beautiful. Okay, let's play this one more time. Two numbers that multiply to negative 60 and are going to add to positive 4. Okay, well, it needs to multiply to a negative, so one needs to be negative and one positive, so maybe 6 and times negative 10. Added together, that's negative 4, not what we're looking for, but close, so let's maybe switch those signs. Negative 6, positive 10, add those together, that gives me my positive 4 that I am looking for. Two sets of parentheses. This time our variable is b. So b minus 6 and b plus 10. And there we go, factored. Okay, for 5 and 6, the only difference here is that we're now solving each of these, and what tells us we're solving them is that it has an equal sign in it, so it is an equation. Okay, so we're actually trying to figure out what the variable is. So then it says solve by factoring. So same thing here, we've just added an equals 0. Okay, but we're still going to play the number game. What two numbers multiplied together give me a positive 5, and added together give me a negative 6? Okay, well, two numbers, 5 is really easy. I can do 5 and 1. Okay, that's going to give me a positive 6, not quite what we're looking for, so maybe let's do negatives. Remember, a negative times a negative still gives me a positive when multiplied together. But when I add these together, I get the negative 6 that I'm looking for. Okay, so I have my two factors. This is going to be b minus 5 and b minus 1. The only difference here is now they're both equal to 0 because we're solving for b. Okay, well, now in order to solve for b, what we do is we take each one of these pieces. So I have b minus 5 equals 0 and b minus 1 equals 0. Two pieces, set them equal to 0 in order to solve. Okay, so let's solve our first one. Opposite of minus 5 is add 5. So my first answer is positive 5. Opposite of negative 1 or subtract 1 is to add 1 to both sides. So my next answer is positive 1. Remember, when solving for quadratics, we always get two answers. B equals positive 5, B equals positive 1. Beautiful. Let's try that again. Okay, so I need two numbers multiplied together to give me a positive 40, added together to give me a negative 13. Okay, well, let's try maybe 4 times 10 would give me 40. Added together, that's positive 14. No, not what we're looking for. Maybe let's try 8 times 5. Added together, positive 13. Close. So let's do the same thing we did last problem. Let's make both of these guys negative. Negative times a negative still gives me a positive, but when I add these together, it gives me my negative 13 that I'm looking for. Okay, so I found my two factors, put in factored form. We have a minus 8 times a minus 5. And it's equal to 0 because it's an equation now. Okay, so again, we're going to take each of these pieces and set them equal to 0. A minus 8 equals 0, and a minus 5 equals 0. Now we can solve. Okay, opposite of minus 8 is going to be to add 8 to both sides. 0 plus 8 is 8. Opposite of subtract 5 is to add 5 to both sides. 0 plus 5 is 5. Okay, what you'll notice here, and this doesn't always work, okay, but these factors, we got a negative 8 and a negative 5. Our answers were just the opposite, positive 8, positive 5. Beautiful. All right, so that was factoring and solving by factoring. Now we're actually going to go backwards, however you want to think of it. We're going to find each product. Okay, well, let's remind ourselves that whenever we see the word product, that means we're going to multiply. Okay, so we talked about two different ways to multiply these things out. We talked about FOIL and the box method. Okay, well, let's remind ourselves. I'll go over here where I have some space. What FOIL actually stands for. F would be our first terms. O is our outside terms. I is our inside terms. And L are our last terms. Okay, so this just tells you the order in which you should multiply these out. Okay, so let's try it. So we have F in FOIL. So F stands for first. Okay, well, I'm going to take my first terms. That would be 8v and 3v. Multiply them together. Okay, that's going to give me 8 times 3, 24v squared. Okay, then I have O in FOIL. That's my outside terms. Outside, 8v times negative 2, negative 16v. Then I have I for inside terms, 5 times 3v, positive 15v. And L would be my last terms. 5 times negative 2 would give me negative 10. Okay, and the last thing I need to do here once I've gotten to this expression is simplify it, because I do have some like terms. If you follow the order, they're usually the two terms in the middle. So 24v squared stays 24v squared. Negative 16v plus 15v gives me negative 1v. And negative 10 on the end. So now we've multiplied two binomials out to get a quadratic expression. Okay, so let's try that again. So again, f in FOIL, my first terms, 3p times 7p. 3 times 7, 21p squared. Okay, then I have my O for my outside terms, 3p times 2, positive 6p. I for my inside terms, negative 5 times 7p, negative 35p. And L for my last terms, negative 5 times positive 2, negative 10. Okay, so we literally just followed the order in which to multiply those guys out. Last thing I need to do to simplify, combine like terms. 21p squared stays 21p squared. 6p minus 35p. Let me just double check my work on a calculator. 6 minus 35. Negative 29p. And negative 10. And there we go. Okay, we'll do one more with the FOIL, and then we'll go on to our box method. F in FOIL, my first terms, we have b times 5b, or think 1 times 5b. Well, that's going to be 5b squared. O, my outside terms, b times negative 6, well, that would be negative 6b. I, inside terms, 4 times 5b, well, that's positive 20b. And L, my last terms, 4 times negative 6 would be negative 24. Okay, well, let's go ahead and combine like terms. So 5b squared can't combine with anything. Negative 6b plus 20b would be positive 14b. And negative 24. Okay, so that was FOIL. The next method we learned about was our box method. Okay, well, if you remember, box method is where you literally draw a box with 4 squares. Okay, once you have your 4 squares, you can then take both of your binomials. So I'm going to take my first binomial, put it on top, a 3x and a positive 2. Take my second binomial, put it down the side, 2x and a negative 7. Okay, and then we're just going to fill in these boxes by multiplying them out. Okay, so I have 3x times 2x is going to give me 6x squared. 2 times 2x is going to give me 4x. 3x times negative 7, negative 21x. And 2 times negative 7, negative 14. Okay, now I'm going to write it out in the order that I solved it. So I have 6x squared plus 4x minus 21x minus 14. Okay, because now I can see exactly what terms I need to combine. Combine my like terms. 6x squared stays 6x squared. 4 minus 21 is going to give me negative 17. X and minus 14 on the end. Alrighty. Okay, let's try that a couple more times. So again, I'm going to give myself a box with 4 squares. Okay, I'm going to put my first binomial on top, 8p and a positive 6. Notice I don't have to put the positive sign. My second binomial down the side, 7p, positive 6. Now I'm just going to fill in these boxes by multiplying them. 8p and 7p, so 8 times 7, 8 times 7, yes, I am doing this on a calculator. 56p squared. 6 times 7p is going to give me 42p. 8p times 6, 48p. And 6 times 6, 36. Okay, let's go ahead and write it out in the order we solved it. 56p squared plus 42p plus 48p. Oh no, I'm going to run out of room. Plus 36. Whoops. Okay, now I can see what terms I need to combine. It's the one with 1 p's. I can only combine p's that are to the same power. So 56p squared. 42 plus 48, I believe, yep, 90, positive 90p. And plus 36 on the end. Beautiful. Okay, let's do this one more time. Give yourself a box with 4 squares. I'm going to place my first binomial on top, 5v and a -7 for 5v minus 7. 5v and a -8 for 5v minus 8. Okay, now I multiply. So I have 5v times 5v is going to give me 25v squared. -7 times 5v, -35v. 5v times -8, -40v. And -7 times -8 is positive, excuse me, negative times negative, positive 56. Okay, now I'm just going to write it out in the order that I solved it. 25v squared minus 35v minus 40v plus 56. Okay, now I can see my like terms that I need to combine. -35 and -40. It's going to turn into -75v in the middle. 25v squared in front plus 56 on the end. And there we go.